Hello everyone, it's Rabbi Chaitovsky here from my office at BMH-BJ on the eve of my very first Shabbat back in the community and at the synagogue that I know and love. I want to talk to you this morning in what will be the first of hopefully a regular series of video D'var Torah about this week's Torah portion, and I want you to think for just a moment about a furnace and the thermometer. I want you to have in your mind the difference between those two things. And the difference is fairly obvious. The furnace is a source of heat and a source of energy. And a thermometer is a gauge of the energy that's already there. And you'll see in just a moment why I'm asking you to think about. This week's Torah portion begins a series of 4.5 Torah portions, the last third of the book of Exodus, that deal exclusively with one topic, the building of the first synagogue, which is called by the language of the Torah, either the Mikdash or the Mishkan. 5 Torah portions are dedicated to the details of fundraising, materials, building, execution, and dedication of this first portable Mishkan, this forerunner of the modern synagogue. And a famous question arises in connection with all of this as to when exactly this command was given. Rashi, the great medieval commentator, says that the command to build a Mishkan, in the words V'yasu li mikdash v'shachanti betocham, build for me a sanctuary, a holy place, so that I will dwell among them, that command did not really come where we find it in chapter 25. It actually came a little bit later, after the sin of the golden calf. Rashi is of the opinion that the Torah portions and the stories in the Torah are not always in the order in which they appear. Ein mukdam u'mu'uchar b'Torah. There is no chronological order to the stories of the Torah, at least not necessarily. And he says, logically, that it was only after the sin of the golden calf, when the Jewish people fell off of the highest levels of spirituality in the aftermath of the giving of the Torah at Sinai, that it was necessary for them to actually engage in the building of a Mishkan, which would be the central address of God in the community. The sin of the golden calf demonstrated that the Jewish people needed a place in which they could be guaranteed an audience with God, or at least a certain closeness with God. So Rashi says that this command should appear later. As to why it's here now, that's the mystery that Rashi says is part of the Jewish tradition. The Ramban, on the other hand, is very reluctant to change the order of things unless there's a really compelling reason. And he says, differently than Rashi, that the command appears exactly where it should. The Jewish people had just stood at Mount Sinai. The Jewish people had received the laws and rules and regulations, not only of the Ten Commandments, but also last week's Torah portion, the Torah portion of Mishpatim, all the social and laws about how to build a society and how to be a good neighbor and how to treat your fellow human being. They were on a very high level of spirituality, and the purpose of the command to build the Mishkan was to continue that, to reinforce that, so that they would never forget the experience at Sinai. Well, no matter who you believe, Rashi or Ramban, they both have much merit to them, they both have lots of logic behind them, but we're back again to furnaces and thermometers. Consider Rashi for just a moment. Rashi seems to say that the purpose of that Mishkan was to be a furnace, was to elevate the people, was to rehabilitate the people, was to provide a source of spiritual energy, to raise the people back to the level that they once were, but had tragically fallen with the sin of the golden calf. The Ramban says, no, the Mishkan was actually a thermometer. It was an accurate gauge of the highest level of spirituality achieved by the Jewish people standing at Sinai and in the aftermath of Sinai. The question for today is, what are synagogues? Synagogues are clearly the modern version of the Mishkan. They are the little temples, the Mikdash Ma'at, patterned after the Holy Temple in Jerusalem, which itself was the aftermath of the Mishkan, the next iteration of the Mishkan. What are synagogues today? Are they thermometers or are they furnaces? There are many synagogues of each kind in the world today. In the Orthodox world, many synagogues are indeed thermometers. Certainly synagogues in Eastern Europe before World War II were thermometers, were a gauge of the religiosity of their members. But I wonder about today. And my mission here at this synagogue is not to focus on the thermometer aspect, not to simply be a reflection of where our people are at, if I can use that unfelicitous term, but to be a furnace, to always hold out a standard and a level to which to aspire. And it is my hope that together with the members of this congregation who will join me on this journey, even as the Jewish people joined with Moses to build that first Mishkan, as we seek to build our new BMH-BJ, I want us to keep in mind the critical difference between thermometers and furnaces. I think that the synagogue needs to be the furnace, and maybe one day in the future it will achieve that level of success and that level of religiosity and that level of spirituality where it can also be called the thermometer. It's really up to us. Thermometers or furnaces. Shabbat Shalom.